Good evening, everybody. Thank you all for showing up. We're going to do a quick rundown on the South Main Water Project. Dan Tick is here to do the PowerPoint. If anybody's watching at home on TV, Jonathan, have at it.
I'll take over. Hi, I'm Jonathan Burke with Stantec. We have Carter, who's going to be the superintendent with Dawson's. Jake Dawson's the owner. Steve Randall, director of DPW. Jerry Fortin, our senior principal engineer. Thanks everybody for coming. We're going to do a quick rundown of what's to be expected this fall on the South Main Street Water Project. Doesn't matter. Okay. I sure can. Yep. I know I'm good. All right, so just going to keep this short and sweet. Introductions we just went over. We're going to chat about schedule. Dawson's is going to start Tuesday night after Labor Day, which is September 3rd. Probably have trucks on the ground around 5 or 6 at night, probably starting in the road around 7 p.m.-ish. That's totally traffic dependent. If traffic's backed up to Kingswood, then we won't get in the road. We'll wait 15, 20 minutes. We'll get out there when we can. As far as the construction schedule goes, starting at Pickering Corner, we have about 1,600 feet of water main to install down to the Smith River Bridge, and about 2,100 feet of individual water services to each property. So they will be starting at the east side of the project, working west. The water main goes in. We isolate it, we test it, we flush it, we chlorinate it, and then they can start doing services in the areas that have been passed. That has yet to be determined where we'll be on certain days, so we can't really promise any of the businesses where we're going to be October 1st or October 15th or November 1st. So it's an ongoing construction schedule. It's variable. Things change. We're just trying to get people to understand that downtown's going to be very busy with a full pipe crew and a backfill crew downtown. So if you know people in town that can avoid the area or find a different way in, Bay Street's a nice way in and out. If you can avoid this downtown area, we're not telling people to avoid the businesses, but the people that aren't stopping at the businesses that are coming through, if you could try to find an alternate route, that would be fantastic. That would help out Dawson's. The easier they get their work done, the quicker they get out of the roads. So this is just a quick slide of the old water main. It dates back to the early 1900s, so it's been needed to be replaced for about 30 or 40 years. So the red lines are the proposed improvements. Those are the proposed water lines and the services to each individual property. What you have seen so far this spring, we worked till about the third week in June this year. That was the temporary water main. So we've got a lot of feedback saying that it wasn't too intrusive and everything went well. People think that the fall is going to go the same. The fall is going to be much more disruptive. There's going to be a full-size excavator, 2 full-size excavators, a loader, a possible skid steer, a trench box. The little individual work zone isn't going to be just 50 feet long anymore. It might extend 300-400 feet with the cones and the tapers and parking spots and stuff. So what we're going to do is if we do need to occupy those spots at night, we'll put no parking spots, no parking signs in the spots that we need to save for the following day. That way we're not towing cars in the morning and keeping people out of the work zone. As we talked about, everything is going to be a brand new 12-inch ductile iron water main, all new services to each individual property, all new corporations, curb stops, hydrants, valves, everything's brand new. So as a part of this project, we took some money from the feds to replace lead service components. So we are, in fact, going through each individual foundation wall and replacing all the way to the meter, even the fire services and everything, to make sure that there are no lead components left in the system. That picture's somewhat representative of what you're going to see coming down South Main Street. It's going to be a trench box, full-size excavator, 5 to 10 guys probably, operators. It's construction. It's not glamorous. It's going to be messy. They do a great job of cleaning up every night, though. So that's why we're saying this is going to be in the middle of, not in the middle of South Main Street, but closer to this side of the road. But it's going to be very busy. So. So this is an example of Green Street. There's two options when we do the water main services. From the new main, this is what we're calling a trenchless excavation. So if you zoom in, there's a black rod right there, which is your curb stop. We were able to pull underneath the granite steps and the granite walkway all the way to the front door. That house was built in the 1800s, and we were able to pull that service with a cable so we didn't have to dig. It goes directly underneath her front door. So this is a perfect example of why Dawson's wants to do trenchless. It doesn't work in every application, so they will do their best. It saves them time, it saves them money to do it trenchless. If we can't do it that way, unfortunately, that's what the front yards are going to look like. There's no other option. We have to replace the components. The feds tell us we have to go all the way to the meters. So Dawson's will do everything they can to do it trenchless. But for instance, there you can see the sewer service that we found and broke. We needed to fix that. Nobody wants to deal with all this stuff. So time is so valuable for these guys. If we can save half a day at each service, that'll save them a ton of time on the schedule. So this is a picture of this spring. That's the temporary water main going in on the south side of the road. That's probably what you're going to see next spring should be the final cleanup. We have to remove that temporary water main from the road. So in the spring, in theory, it's basically paving, removal of the temp water main, restriping, some reseeding, restoration of landscaping. If we have to go and we have to install through somebody's bushes, we know that in November it's not a good time to be replanting bushes. So Jake and I and Carter and I will be talking to each individual resident about what the plan is for their yard if we do have to get in their yard. We're not going to ask them to replant bushes that are essentially going to die in October and November. So same thing in the spring, final cleanup. I think we have to be, I think it's May or June that this project, their final completion date is. We're on track. Everything in the spring, we went pretty much right up to the last minute. It's a very tight deadline on this project, so traffic control is probably the most difficult task of this project, is keeping the traffic going downtown, and they're going to try to maintain two-way traffic as much as possible. What we've tried to get across to the businesses is if we maintain two-way traffic, we lose the parking spots in that localized work zone. So if you have anybody that owns a business downtown or friends that know people downtown, please tell them it's only temporary. Dawson's is hopefully going to get 75 to 100 feet of pipe a day. So this whole process is moving down the road. So in theory, if we're in front of the pet shop, we should only be there for 2 or 3 days, hopefully, fingers crossed. The easier Dawson's can get their work done and the more productive they get done, the quicker they're out of the road. So they want to work as productively as possible too. So it's in everybody's benefit to, if there's a no parking sign, please don't park in it. We've had a few people already that we've had a detour that they parked right in the lane where we had traffic passing through, and a lady came through and parked her SUV right in the middle of the lane and went into the post office. So we're trying to avoid all that. We're going to do our best to get signs out. The portable message signs will be out there. I'll be providing the town a weekly construction update. This is our best guess of where those guys are going to be week to week. We can't really project more than a week or two out where they're going to be because, like we said, all the variables that happen during construction, and hopefully we have good weather this fall too. Same thing, this is another picture where you can see we had 2-lane traffic passing through this work zone. The permanent 12-inch water main is going to be about the same distance off the opposite side of the curb on this picture. So in theory, we can get it, but unfortunately, as you can see the cars on the right-hand side of that picture, those will likely need to be moved because the curb does get a little bit narrower once you get down past Hunter's. There isn't as much room. We can expect some one-way alternating traffic, especially at the Pickering corner and the bridge. That's why that's mandatory night work. So we'll reduce the traffic impacts as much as we can. We will run into an issue when we have to cross the road with services. You absolutely have to do one-way traffic because you can only occupy half the lane. You backfill it, then move traffic over to the other side, backfill it, and vice versa. Everybody knows, I think everybody in the room's from town. We know what the detours are. Unfortunately, with this project, we can't detour a truck down Leaner Street or Glendon Street. They're just too narrow. Like we said, there are alternate ways around town. We ask the locals to try to utilize those and take the burden off the traffic downtown if we can. Wambeck Road is almost 6.5 miles. We know it's not convenient, but we ask that people do their best to try to avoid the area if they can. If not, we still want people going down to all the businesses and utilizing all the restaurants and all that stuff downtown. We're not telling people not to come downtown, but this one's going to be a little hard to read. So this is what we just talked about. The Pickering Corner intersection to the east, that's night work, and then the work down by the bridge. Those two areas are going to be the proposed night work. We're going to try to avoid as much night work as possible. We know we have kids across the street sleeping, and there's other residences in town. Nobody likes to do night work. They don't like to do it. We don't like to do it. But unfortunately, we found that's the easiest way to control the traffic at those two locations. So towards the end of the job, this job is totally weather dependent. If we start getting some nasty storms, hopefully, fingers crossed, we don't get any in October or November. DOT typically does not like people working in the road after November 15th. We've asked them for an exemption from that. They've agreed to that as long as the weather permits. So in the event we do get a storm, Steve and his DPW crew are going to be busy. Dawson's will be completely out of the road for that day or two for cleanup. And then after that, we're at the mercy of Mother Nature. That's all we have. Does anybody have any questions? Hi, Peter. Good, and you? We will coordinate the same night work that we did with you the second time around. In the spring, we'll do our best to keep the light towers and everything out of your windows. We're thinking maybe 2 nights there, Tuesday and Wednesday night. At Pickering Corner, I think that's best case scenario. We might need to stretch it to 3. We're going to do everything we can. Once we can get 2 lanes by that intersection, and if we can work during the day, we're going to work during the day. Yep. What I'll do is I'll put up something like this, and then I'll put a cloud around the area that we're pretending, or that we'll be occupying. And then what we can do is schematically draw the cones to how many spots we're going to lose and all that stuff. So it might be about a 250-foot work zone by the time you taper the cones properly and all that fun stuff. But yeah, we'll do our best to not impact your in. Exactly. Yep. 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 You have my cell. If you want to text me if you have anything Tuesday night, let me know, and then I can talk with Jake and Carter. Awesome. Thanks, Peter. Appreciate it. Hi, Linda. September 10th, the Tuesday?
Does it have to?
Yeah, at this point.
September 10th, so that's 5 working days for you
Tuesday.
guys.
Yeah.
We're going to be close. Yep. We have money in the contract for extra flaggers. If we need to plant a flagger at Union and maybe even one over here, we have money in the contract to follow that.
And if we need to throw in manpower to make that happen.
Yep.
The goal is going to be to try to keep these guys just moving as best we can. So if we have to throw some more manpower at it too for traffic control, that's what we'll do.
Yep.
Can we, sorry.
Yep.
We'll work on that and try to put that together next couple days so we can get it out.
Right.
Paul? Would you folks be so kind as to come up to the mic? I've been wanting to say that for 2 years.
Is it on? Yeah. September 10th is the election, and I'm hoping you can come up with a plan to help us with parking and how to get people in and out of the polls.
Yep.
Evening, everybody. Could you back up the chart to the, yep, that one. So that little 6.3 mile detour, that's 109A?
Yeah, 109A to
Yeah,
1.
109A to Wamback and
Yeah,
around.
to Wamback and then back. So we've been hearing rumbles that the state's going to be paving that. Have you guys coordinated with
So
New Hampshire DOT?
we can't, because we don't technically have an official detour. It's a suggested route. DOT's paving schedule right now is the end of September-ish. That's the best I can get out of them on that. So at some point they will, but they'll be coming, they're only doing a 1-inch overlay. It'll be coming through,
Yeah.
won't be there that long.
But related to what Selectman Murray said, the sooner you know about that, the better for everybody. Get something out into the public
Yep.
so that people say, oh, I can just, bail out and go up 109A, and then they sit in a wall of traffic out there.
So I plan to put that with Jonathan into our weekly update. So I will also, once I have better dates for the DOT paving project, we'll incorporate that into that with just a general notice on that.
Nice job on the presentation. Very clear. Thank you.
Can you guys maybe just do a quick rundown of like your end of day cleanups so people get an idea of that, when you're going to pave it? Just do a quick little, just so people can have some kind of an idea.
So, I don't think so. We'll start to pull out of the road at about 4:30 every day. There's going to be 2 Jersey barriers in the parking stalls. There'll be the excavators parked in between the Jersey barriers, so that way if there's any accidents, they don't hit the excavators. And we will pave every Friday afternoon. It will probably be just temp pavement, so it'll only be about 2 inches thick, but you can expect it to be paved every Friday and swept every Friday.
Perfect. Thank you. Does anybody have any other questions?
Linda Murray, are you going to work any Saturdays?
It's possible.
More than likely.
Yep.
And right now, their work hours are scheduled from 7 to 5. We may end up pushing that 5 o'clock deadline depending on weather and depending on timing. But if they're scheduling to try to be out of the road by 4:30, I would think 5:30 is probably a pretty reasonable cutoff time to have cones and signage moved and everything buttoned up for the evening. And then their Saturdays, we'll do it up probably on a week-to-week or at least a couple-week look ahead as we can start to see what the weather is. We will coordinate that, and again, we'll put that out in the notice on the website for people to have a heads up.
Hi, Brad Harriman here. Just one thought is, Jonathan, you talked about your trenchless, trying to do it in the services there. In the downtown area where we have the concrete sidewalks and stuff, you're going to try and do that as much as you can there so we're not digging up sidewalks, obviously. Yep. And I know you guys have been into all the basements of all the buildings there. Are any of those coming out like under their entrance doors into the establishments and stuff there that you know of? So
Yes.
it definitely
Yes.
going to try that there. Okay.
Yep.
Just
And there have been a few buildings downtown, for instance, Peter's at the Pickering House. They have two, and his restaurant next door, the Pavilion. They have both replaced their water services, so we're only going to the right-of-way for those
Right.
people. And there's a few fire services that have been upgraded downtown in the last 5 years. We know there's no lead components in those. There are a few services that we've already knocked off the list that we know we don't need to replace. So we're working in the right direction, creating less work for them.
Church is one too across the street, wasn't it? They
Exactly.
have a new
Yep,
one,
the
yeah.
church, the Localtopia, Pickering House, the Pavilion, and Black's Fire Service. So there's a handful of them downtown that we've given them the go-ahead to just tie in at the right-of-way.
And probably Hunters too now, they got a,
Hunters, yes, Hunter doesn't need to do anything for sewer and water. I think those guys have taken care of it.
yeah. All right, thank
Yep.
you.
Thanks, Brad.
So if anybody watching this has any other questions too, they can reach out to either Stantec, they can call the Public Works office, be happy to update them, and we'll start firing the weekly updates on the website here shortly.
Get you one tomorrow. My cell number is 603-505-1356. Call or text me anytime, and we can talk about your property or any other issues going on.
And Public Works office is 569-8176. No. You don't want your cell number?
Thank you, appreciate it.
That's it. I'm not giving.